Next on Newton's Apple, how do you bring an extinct animal to life? What ailment sidelined Kirby Puckett?
I couldn't see. I had this dark spot.
And can enzymes get Dave out of a pickle? We'll answer these questions and more next on Newton's Apple.
Newton's Apple is made possible by a grant from 3M and its employees. Creative people who put science to work for you. 3M. Innovation.
Here it is.
Check it out.
Woo!
Wow. Hey guys. Welcome to a special edition of Newton's Apple.
This show marks the beginning of our 15th season on the air.
Wow, the cake looks great. You know, over the years, Newton's Apple has gone through many changes.
But one thing remains the same. We're here to answer your questions about science, technology, and the world around us.
There's a familiar ring to it.
Well, it should.
I know why, too. We're going to take a look at the very first episode of Newton's Apple, Ira Flato in 1983. Watch.
Welcome to Newton's Apple. This is the program that answers your questions about science, medicine, technology, the world around us. Now, why the program's unusual name? Of course, it comes from the old tale about Isaac Newton's discovery of gravity when an apple fell on his head. Unfortunately, that's not what really happened. Even in Newton's time, people knew about gravity, but the story is retold time and again because it shows that hidden among the simplest occurrences in nature, like the falling of an apple, lie fascinating and important ideas. And that's what we hope that Newton's Apple will mean to you. We want to stimulate you to ask questions about the world just like Isaac Newton did. Now, you can ask simple or complicated questions. We'll try to answer all of them. We'll mix in some of our own questions, too. And we may not discover gravity, but we will give you a lot to think about. And we should have a good time along the way.
That's great. Fun. David, you're the senior member of the team. How long have you been doing Newton's Apple?
This is my 10th season answering viewer questions.
Wow,
Fantastic.
that's so cool. And here's to many more years of science adventure.
Here, here.
Cheers. All right, Eileen, let's have the first question for this season.
Oh, Brian, first question.
Oh, that's right. And we have that right here. It's from Callie Logan, who's writing to ask.
Hey, did you feel that?
Yeah. What'd you have for lunch?
Wasn't me. Where did everybody go? Pretty realistic, huh? This Tyrannosaurus Rex was created for Jurassic Park Ride, a place where people like you and me can watch dinosaurs roam free for the first time in 65 million years.
Who could forget the first time we saw the amazing dinosaurs of Jurassic Park? Using a combination of computer graphics and animatronic robots, Jurassic Park gave us the first look at what real living dinosaurs may have looked, sounded, and moved like.
But that was just a movie. Here at Universal Studios in Hollywood, designers have created a ride that takes the dinosaurs off the movie screen and puts them into our world.
And what a challenge that was. How do you create robotic dinosaurs that can emulate the smooth and lifelike movements of their computer-generated counterparts? Phil Hedema, who's the ride's producer, gave me the inside story.
How did the dinosaurs in the movie affect the design of the ride?
Well, the first time we saw the movie, we all took a deep breath because those dinosaurs moved in a fluid and remarkable way, like no one had ever seen before. So we had to go find a whole new range of technologies.
Were you creating new technology with this process?
Well, robotics are not new, but we used new technologies created for other industries like aerospace and the medical field and applied them into robotics in ways and scale, certainly, that had never been done before, particularly a system called compliant hydraulics. And that enables the dinosaurs to have a much more fluid sense of movement than the kind of herky-jerky movement you think of robots having.
Compliant hydraulics is a system that actually simulates the complex interaction of muscles. When one section of the robotic dinosaur is activated, the other parts react to give the impression of real muscle movement within the dinosaur.
Every time I move my hand, it actually is a movement that transfers all the way up my arm and into my torso. And in the same way, when the dinosaur moves his head, that movement transfers all the way down into his body, giving a much more lifelike movement.
Once assembled, the task of moving these realistic robots into their future home became quite a spectacle. It's not every day that you see a huge dinosaur hovering above downtown Los Angeles.
Everything about Jurassic Park the Ride is immense, starting with the dinosaurs. This armor-plated Stegosaurus measures 40 feet from nose to tail. The entire ride covers 6 acres of land with 1.4 million gallons of water filling the tropical lagoon. And finally, the 84-foot plunge at the end is the fastest, steepest water ride drop in amusement park history.
All of that water creates another challenge for the ride designers. How do you make robots that can operate all day, every day, while being surrounded by water? Eddie Newquist, lead ride designer, let us in on a few tricks of the trade.
How do you get these guys to work?
Well, they're hydraulic figures, and we actually program them to go through the moves and to react to the boats that come by them hundreds of times a day.
So does he get wet at all?
He only gets wet from the rain, but he doesn't get wet from the water coming from the ride, because although this looks like a wrecked boat, and that's what the guest sees, this is actually a small cinder block room, and it houses the robotic figure. So it houses his electronics and all of his hydraulics.
Eddie took me underground to get an up-close look at one of the robotic dinosaurs.
Basically, this is another platform that's driven by hydraulic cylinders, and it enables this spitter to jump up and scare the guests. And then
me.
And then he spits ice-cold water at the guests.
Can I touch him?
Absolutely.
Okay. Whoa, he feels really lifelike.
Yeah, it's actually a silicone-based skin, and then we actually spray silicone over him to protect him from weather and the elements.
I love the zippers up his legs.
Well, it's the only way we can get into the creature to maintain him and to fix anything that might be wrong with him. And the guests can't see it because it's down behind his tail and down by the back of his legs.
Another thing the guests don't see is this huge collection of cables and pulleys that send this car crashing down 35 feet into the water.
What kind of system is this exactly?
Well, this is actually a cable-driven hydraulic system, and it's basically the same type of system that's used on aircraft carriers to launch F-16s.
Really?
Yeah, so it's got a lot of power, and that way we're able to drive the Jeep down into the water next to the guests, almost like a T-Rex has kicked it over the wall.
Recreating a world that dinosaurs lived in 65 million years ago takes incredible attention to detail. And one of those details is the plants. Landscapers planted over 9,000 different flowers, trees, palms, and bamboo to bring this lush environment to life. After all, the whole purpose was to make this ride as real as possible, a vision shared by director Steven Spielberg, who helped to initiate production on the ride even before the first Jurassic Park movie had been released.
This is really what virtual reality is all about. It's not about something you put on your head and see a condensed image on 3 sides of you. This really is a chance to, three-dimensionally live the movie.
All right, if I'm gonna live the movie, I need a tour guide. And who better than Vanessa Lee Chester, star of The Lost World? As you can see, Vanessa has some previous experience handling dinosaurs.
Hey, Vanessa.
Hi.
So, are you going to protect me from all the dinosaurs?
Of course I will. I'll do anything. Anything to protect you from those vicious dinosaurs.
Hey, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Step as you board the boat and stand
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Wow!
Don't you feel like you're there?
This is awesome. This is so awesome.
Look right over there. I don't like this part. I hate this part. Now everything goes wrong. We're going up.
What a rush! The realism of the robotics and the detail created for this environment really brought the illusion to life. It makes me wonder, when's the sequel?
next question comes from Dan Adliff of Wheaton, Illinois. And he writes, my friend's uncle has glaucoma, and now he has trouble seeing. What is glaucoma, and how does it hurt your eyes? Glaucoma is the leading cause of blindness in the United States, affecting an estimated 3 million people. But half of the people who have glaucoma are undiagnosed. And that's because it's almost impossible to know you have it until there's a serious loss of vision. And that's what happened to baseball superstar Kirby Puckett.
I woke up March 28th, the morning of March 28th, and we were leaving that day, going to Colorado to play exhibition game in Colorado Rockies, and I couldn't see. I had this dark spot. Little did I know that would be my last day, suiting up as a ball player.
Twins bat here, top of the 7th.
Kirby Puckett was known for his amazing feats with a bat and with a glove, helping the Minnesota Twins to 2 World Series victories. He was a baseball hero off the field as well. His generosity and positive spirit attracted loyal fans of all ages. Then, a sudden vision loss brought his career to an abrupt halt.
It took them 3.5 months to analyze and to come up with things. And so when the doctor told me I had glaucoma, I was like, well, good. You know, at least I know what I have. Now, hopefully, it can be treated or it can be taken care of. I didn't think that I wouldn't be able to, you know, play baseball again. I thought that maybe if it wasn't too late.
But it was too late for Kirby. Glaucoma had caused vision loss in his right eye, his batting eye, ending his career as a home run hitter. Just 10 years earlier, Kirby appeared on Newton's Apple, teaching host Ira Flato some of the finer points of batting. Ironically, during that interview, he explained just how important that right eye is to a right-handed hitter.
You're a right-hand hitter or left?
I'm a right-hand hitter.
Okay. So your right eye is the dominant eye. So you want to open yourself up and make sure that you can see the pitcher, see the ball out of the pitcher's hands. Make sure you can see everything.
We'll hear more from Kirby in a few minutes and find out what his life is like now, off the baseball field. But first, Brian is standing by to explore the causes of glaucoma.
I'm here with Dr. Toni Yancey, the Director of Public Health from the city of Richmond, Virginia. And just to get right into it, what is glaucoma?
Glaucoma is damage to the nerve endings in the eye that causes loss of vision.
And I understand glaucoma is supposed to be something to do with a buildup of pressure in the eye?
Right. Well, the buildup of pressure is involved. Fluid actually builds up. That causes an increase in pressure, and that leads to damage to the nerves.
So there's fluid in the eye?
Yes.
Well, how does all this work?
Let me show you.
We have our handy eye model right over here.
Okay. This is the front of the eye, the cornea. Okay. This is the lens that focuses the light that comes through that middle part, the pupil, the opening, onto the retina, which is the back of the eye, where the nerves are that go to the brain.
Okay, this is the lens.
The lens. This tissue around the lens makes the fluid that nourishes the eye.
Okay, so there's fluid all in here.
All in here.
Okay.
That drains through the pupil and all around into this tissue, the spongy, meshy tissue around the iris.
So the fluid drains out here?
Yes.
Is it like tears? Comes out like tears?
It's not tears, though. We're talking about really microscopic amounts of fluid.
Oh, so that's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
Fluid's produced back here, drains out here. What happens in glaucoma?
Well, in glaucoma, you have a problem with the drainage.
Really?
Yeah. And pressure builds up in this part of the eye.
Okay.
And that leads to damage to the nerve endings in the back of the eye. This is the retina. These are rods and cones that catch those light rays, and that circle is the optic nerve that goes to the brain. In glaucoma, the pressure buildup in the front of the eye damages the nerve endings so that there's loss of vision. Usually people don't even know that they have a problem until they've lost about 1/3 of their vision.
So it doesn't happen just like that?
It doesn't. For most people, it happens very gradually.
And can you actually see the damage?
The eye doctor or ophthalmologist can see the damage to the eye, but the person is usually unaware of it.
Now, it would seem to me if it was as simple in many of the cases as a buildup of pressure, that you could just relieve the pressure and solve the problem. It's not that simple?
It's not quite. Let me show you.
Okay. It's a sink? What does a sink have to do with it?
Well, Brian, a sink is a bit like the eye in this case in that you have a constant fluid supply and constant drainage, at least if it's working.
Right, so in glaucoma it's like it's blocked. So how do you fix the problem?
Well, what would you do with the sink?
Well, if it was the fluid's coming in, I just shut off the tap.
And we have a couple of medications that actually help to slow the production of fluid.
And thereby not building up the pressures quickly. Well, I suppose if you really wanted to attack the root of the problem, couldn't you just open the drain?
What would you do if you had this sink to deal with?
Mr. Plunger. That's what I would do. Do you have a medical equivalent for this kind of thing?
Try again, Brian.
All right. Well, if I didn't have a plunger, I would, you know, I'd just use one of those chemicals that you use to pour down the sink and open the drain.
And look what we have here, a couple of medications. This one helps to actually improve the drainage out of the meshwork, and this does a little bit of both, slows fluid production as well as increasing drainage.
So if I have a headache, I should call my plumber instead of my doctor, because apparently your two professions are linked.
Well, not quite that much, Brian.
All right, does this work in all cases?
No, unfortunately not.
So what would you do if that didn't work?
Well, what would you do
well,
next?
you know, if it's a bigger problem, there's drain snakes, you know, these things that you put down the drain and really push blockages through.
And in the case of the eye, we have laser surgery. And what we do there is create hundreds of tiny holes in the mesh around the cornea to, again, create a flow.
So you're sort of punching in a new drain with the surgery.
Exactly.
And if that doesn't work?
Well, the next step, Brian, is something that was the only alternative 20 years ago, which is for the surgeon to create a whole new drain.
Really? So that was the oldest technique?
Yeah.
Well, between the other surgeries, between the medications, does a combination of all of them cure glaucoma?
Unfortunately, Brian, there's no cure, so that all we're doing is slowing the progression of the disease. Once vision loss has occurred, it's permanent. And once nerves are damaged, that damage is permanent.
So what would happen to a person who had glaucoma before the advent of medication, you know, 30, 40 years ago?
Well, a lot of people went blind, Brian.
Wow. But with all these new techniques, what's it like if you have glaucoma now?
Well, let's see how glaucoma affects Kirby Puckett.
If something happens to you, you just deal with it. I don't sit around and go, well, why did it happen to me and didn't happen to that person? I don't say that. I say, well, somebody must have wanted me to have this for a reason. I'm the national spokesperson for glaucoma, so I go speak about it. And I tell people about it. I tell them it's nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, we have 2 million people walking around in America right now that have glaucoma and don't even know it. I encourage people to get screened, especially people who are in high risk. Afro-American people are 4 to 5 times more likely to get glaucoma than other people are. If you're a diabetic, over 40 years old, or you have a family history of glaucoma, please go get screened. My life is busier now than it was when I was a player. Wherever I go and talk about glaucoma, they have doctors there that give their time, give free screenings. And if you go get screened and you do have it, it can be treated. I put eye drops in my eye every day, and I can't see out of my right eye anymore, but I can see the sun beautifully with my left eye. And my doctors ensure me that I'm be able to see for the rest of my life, and that's the best news in the world that I could have received. When I wake up in the morning, I put Pred Forte in this eye, 3 times in my bad eye, 1 shot of atropine in the morning, and then 1 shot only of Xalatin in the good eye. And that's it. I go talk to people, and people see me with glaucoma. They know that if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone else.
So obviously the key is early detection.
Absolutely critical. Everybody who is 40 years of age or older needs to have a regular screening eye examination at least every 3 to 5 years. And if you're African American, you have 6 times the risk of someone who's white for glaucoma.
Wow.
So it's even more important, and you should really start being screened at age 30.
Okay, good advice. Dr. Toni Yancey. And Newton's Apple will continue in a minute.
We get lots of letters here at Newton's Apple from curious viewers just like you. Do you have a science question? Write us at Newton's Apple, Box 1500, 172 East 4th Street, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55101. ¿Tienes una computadora? Bueno, check us out on the web. And while you're there, send us your questions.
Science at Work.
My name's Jean Harper, and I'm a senior nutritionist at the Waltham Center for Pet Nutrition, which is located in Leicestershire in England. Come on, up you get, son. Up, come on, up you get. As a child, like a lot of the people who work with animals, I wanted to be a vet. This little girl here is actually 11 years old. Her name's Edna, and she's been with us all her life. I had no concept that you could work with animals and be involved in nutrition and not be a vet, but there are other jobs out there like this one.
Up you go. Come on, what's there? Oh, don't you want to be weird? Come on, you softie.
These samples are actually from cats. What I'm actually doing at the moment is just checking that there aren't any blood clots in this sample so that it's okay to run on the machine. And this sample looks okay. We place the sample here. and the machine actually draws up a sample. And immediately, the machine starts to count the numbers of different cells in there. So it's actually counting the platelets, the red blood cells, and the white blood cells. No. Try that one again. There are lots of foods that are a perfectly normal and natural part of our diets that we perhaps think it's okay to feed our pet cats and dogs, but the reality is that that isn't true. And a good example of this would be chocolate. If you feed it to cats and dogs, it actually contains a compound in there which is harmful to them. So you shouldn't really feed chocolate to pet animals. Biscuit's a good idea, yeah. We'll do it with a biscuit. As a scientist, I enjoy the challenge of having a question or a problem that I don't know the answer to and being able to put the studies in place to answer that question. It's a very, very satisfying feeling to discover something new or answer a question that no one else has been able to. That's good. You're good. You've stayed exactly the same weight. What a good lad. There you go. Good boy. Time to get down now. Come on, down you get. Good.
You guys all set here? Okay.
Oh, hey!
Oh, I am sorry. Here, let me take this.
I'll take it to the cleaners.
No, I insist. Come on, I know how to take the stain out.
The cleaners?
Yeah, enzymes will do the job here.
Enzymes?
Ooh. Come with me. Yeah, they'll get it done. Come on.
Hey, that's my shirt.
Let's do this before it sets in.
Hey, where are you going with that?
Here, look, I can do just like the commercials.
Are you sure this is going to work?
Oh, yeah. You know, I wasn't always a believer in enzymes. In fact, I didn't even know what they were until I went to this party and I spilled guacamole all on myself. And this really strange man came up to me and he said,
I've got one word for you. Just one word. Are you listening?
Yeah.
Are you really listening?
Yeah.
Enzymes.
I mean, it was weird. What I hoped he meant was that enzymes are good at getting out stains. So I went to my computer and I did a little research. And what I found was enzymes are great at getting out stains. But being the curious guy that I am, I wanted to find out how they actually work. And here's what I found. Enzymes are proteins, and proteins are molecules. And molecules are really, really small. I mean, they're so small you can't even see them with a microscope. But that doesn't mean they're not active little critters. I mean, the really cool thing about proteins and enzymes is that they can move their tiny little parts. Kind of like this. See, it's flexible. Check this out. The protein has a backbone, and that holds together the parts of the protein which are called amino acids. And the side chains do most of the moving. Well, anyway, that's important in the world of enzymes. I mean, just like I have to move to do my job, they have to move to do their jobs.
Dave, come on, order up.
Oh, I got some work to do. We'll have to finish your shirt later. Now, you can't throw any old enzyme in to solve a problem. Some are real picky eaters. Kind of like the folks here at this diner. Some refuse to eat tuna. Here's your ham sandwich. And others, all they want is banana cream pie. There you go. Thanks, guys. Some enzymes will only go after grease, and others are kind of like cannibal enzymes. They'll only go after other proteins. Now, I don't know how much protein is in this thing, but you get it.
Hey, what about my shirt?
Okay, I'm getting to that. Okay, now where was I? Oh, enzymes increase the speed at which a reaction takes place. Some cause molecules to bond together, like that. And others cause chemical bonds to break apart. And that's exactly what we're going to do with your shirt, taking big molecules, breaking apart those chemical bonds into smaller pieces.
Oh.
The shirt.
Hey, yeah, my shirt.
Okay, so for the big finish, you get the right kind of enzyme, remember the picky eaters, and the right kind of enzyme food, and they bump into each other to see if they fit. If the fit is good, then the enzyme can move around the food molecule to get an even tighter fit to break apart the bond. This is happening all over the stain with billions and billions of enzymes. So now we've got a whole bunch of little teeny particles broken down by the enzymes. And then everything can be washed away in water. And there you have it. A clean shirt.
Thanks for cleaning it, but I can't wear it. It's still wet.
Does anyone have a dry shirt? Here you go. Thanks for watching Newton's Apple.
Newton's Apple is made possible by a grant from 3M and its employees. Creative people who put science to work for you. 3M. Innovation. Additional support for Newton's Apple provided by the National Science Foundation. If you would like a videotape or transcript of this program, please call us toll-free at 1-800-588-NEWTON.
And the first question is, why are you laughing at me?
Tell me, what was your motivation in the film?
Well, I was hoping it would...
It's a bit like the eye in this way. The constant fluid.
Oh, God, that's awesome. I just feel so privileged to meet you.
This is PBS.